Okay, perfect. Wonderful. So I'm ready to get started. Um, Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to be here with one of my favorite people in tech. I'm Andrea from GitHub, and we're live from GitHub Universe 2025. This week, we're sitting down with leaders from organizations, from communities. But today, we're having a bit of a different conversation, which I'm really excited about because it's a bit personal. Quincy, I bet you get tired of people coming up to you and telling you what you done changed my life. It's super personal for me because I owe my career to you and your platform. What you built has made an impact in my life. I learned to code through freeCodeCamp on my lunch breaks, half the time with my baby on my lap. So thinking about freeCodeCamp as a platform back in 2016, and now it's like just it's very nostalgic, but also paints a beautiful picture of this incredible project that you created. So for those of you who are just joining us today, we're talking with Quincy Larson, who is the founder of freeCodeCamp. freeCodeCamp is the largest free coding education platform in the world. You have an incredible reach. There is so many people that are tuning into your YouTube channel to watch the streams. I think last time I looked, there were like 10 million subscribers to that channel. Um, Over 400,000, and I don't know where this number came from, so please correct me if I'm wrong, developers who have gotten jobs because they started to learn from freeCodeCamp. And somehow you managed to do all this and keep it as a nonprofit. This is one of the few places that you can actually go and learn how to code for free. Like really, truly, right now, today, you can go to freecodecamp.org and start learning how to code. So we're just gonna have a chat with you because again, you're the founder. Uh, this massive platform that you created, that you started out of your own sort of need, right? You were teaching yourself to code too. Were you a teacher or a school director at the
Yeah.
time?
So I worked as a teacher and a school director until I was about 31 years old. And while I was a school director, I wanted to improve my school. So I just learned some basic Python, some basic JavaScript, and I started trying to automate a lot of the back office stuff so the teachers and the administrators could spend more time with the students and
Mhm.
less time chained to their desks, and putting data and dealing with like immigration paperwork or dealing with grade reports and things like that. So I was able to learn enough to get dangerous with Python. And then I saw how powerful even like some teacher that knows this stuff was. And I wanted to dive deeper. And so I worked as a software engineer and did freelance for a couple
Mhm.
years. And then I wanted to teach other people. So I started freeCodeCamp.
That's incredible. And of course, it was you, the team of you doing this. You were trying to solve this problem for yourself. Why did you decide that it needed to be a free thing for other people? Once you solved your own problem, most people would have started a company, Quincy, and tried to sell it.
Yeah, well, I have always been like very, I guess, I've always felt that education was overpriced in the United States. Like
Yes.
university is expensive, textbooks are expensive, and most of what they're teaching is just public domain information, math, science that stretches way back in history. Uh, and they've just merely packaged it in a way that they can sell it. And I was like, well, if we just make everything free and open source, we can help a lot more people and we'll figure out the sustainability aspect later. And ultimately, that was just asking people who go through freeCodeCamp if they want to donate, and like less than 1% of people donate, but it's enough to keep the charity going. And so we have more than 10,000 monthly recurring donors,
Hmm.
and then occasionally we'll have some person like the CEO of CompTIA. He uses freeCodeCamp, and he's been expanding his programming skills, and he was able to steer like a $250,000 grant our way.
Oh,
So
shout out to the CEO of CompTIA. That's
yeah,
amazing.
really chill dude. And I love CompTIA, and I'm learning a lot from looking at their administration and their structure because they're also a charity. And then of course, Khan Academy is a charity, Wikipedia is a charity. There were so many great charities to learn from, and I'm really happy we went the route of being a charity because it means we can just focus completely on our mission. We can't be bought or sold. We don't have to worry about investors or anything like that. It's
Yes.
just me and the community and our vast contributor network on GitHub, of course, where I believe we're the most starred repository on GitHub. We've got like 60,000 issues/pull requests
That's
on the repo.
incredible.
Yeah, like GitHub has been like really central to how we organize our contributor effort.
That's incredible. Okay, and you talked about the community and how open sourcing this from the get-go was a key part of your mindset. I think, how many languages has some of the content be translated into? I know you have people from all over the world. Is there some data there that you can share for us?
Yeah, well, the US is still number one. India is number two. I think like Nigeria, Brazil,
Yeah,
these like very populous countries, due to their large population, their large developer population, are kind of overrepresented in the Free Code Camp community. But we also have people in Europe and other parts of Latin America and Africa and Asia that are using Free Code Camp. And most of them, the median age of a learner is 30. So these are not high school kids necessarily. There are lots of high school kids and
yeah.
university students, but there are also lots of people in their 40s and 50s using Free Code Camp to learn new skills.
100%. I was a career changer thanks to freeCodeCamp. So yes, that's incredible. I appreciate that the community has embraced this project as their own so much. I think that's made it grow at a rate that's unbelievable. I mean, when you were running this from your closet in San Francisco,
Yeah.
what do you think in terms of like what success would look like for you then? What was it that you were thinking? Okay, once this happens with freeCodeCamp, I know that I got something.
Yeah, well, I always thought once people start getting jobs, then we know that it's working, and
Yeah.
that proves out the concept, especially people who don't have computer science degrees or maybe don't even have university degrees. And now, if you think about it, like the various levels of difficulty people face,
Yes.
we have people in the community who are incarcerated right now, and there's this program that's amazing called Persevere, where they go to prisons and they teach women how to program
That's
in the
incredible.
like local area network, because they don't get internet access as part of being in prison. You lose that right. And they're just using a local version of Free Code Camp to train them, and they're getting out and they're getting jobs. And then of course people who are coming out of abusive relationships, people who are recovering from drugs, all kinds of people who would traditionally face a pretty uphill battle trying to get a job as a developer or even as like a semi-technical professional in a different field. They're able to do that, and a lot of that is because they don't have to spend a whole lot of money on going back to university, for example. They can just use Free Code Camp, and they can do it on the Free Code Camp mobile app during their lunch break.
Which is great, by the way. You're one of the few educational platforms that has a mobile app that actually doesn't want to make you throw your phone. Yeah.
Thank you. We've spent a great deal of time trying to nail mobile coding usability. It's a difficult problem.
Oh, 100%, especially because there are so many people that might not have access to a machine. So
Yeah.
that's opening doors and windows and so much possibility. That's amazing. That's amazing. You have really changed the game for education. I think a lot of folks in the industry got their started. Well, before we came into the booth, there was actually one person that was saying, thank you. And I think you probably have a million of those conversations while you're here, which is just what an incredible legacy. So excited to think about the future of Free Code Camp. And of course, it's been a long time since you started. We're now on the 10th year, 11th year of Free Code
11th
Camp.
year, yeah. And we're working on version 10 of our curriculum, which is completely free and involves thousands of hours of coursework. And you can earn certifications as you progress: responsive web design, front-end libraries, data visualization, relational databases, back-end development, Python programming. Like the entire kind of progress is this linear curriculum that's fully interactive with test suites, that kind of walks you through building lots of projects and teaches you just in time. So we're very proud of the kind of like curriculum, and that's what a vast majority of the 29 people who work at Free Code Camp are focused on, is the curriculum.
100%. And so you're launching these major curriculum updates, including like machine learning certifications. And then I think so something about high performance computing. There were some other things that were coming down that pipeline. And then you're also have initiatives working towards getting some accredited, some different types of accreditations. Can you speak a little bit about what kind of certifications you can get through Free Code Camp? I know it prepares you to take, you can follow the path and actually then go test out. But what do you have for the future? Like what are you driving that side of it?
Absolutely. Well, in addition to like the programming certifications that we mentioned, we have a program called English for Developers, and English is a second language for non-native English speakers, so they can continue to level up their English. And
Amazing.
It's an interactive English curriculum, and that follows the common European framework. So they're like the levels like A1, A2, B1, B2. So it's a free alternative to like the TOEFL or the IELTS, and like Cambridge and all these other programs that have paid coursework. We have a free alternative, and it's set in the context of learning programming and working in a office as a developer. So you're not learning like the boy threw the rock. You're learning,
What is the library?
yeah, the developer pushed the library to production or something like that, right?
Right. That's amazing because I mean that's relevant, obviously, and it's more niche to the segment of the population that's gonna want to get a job. There's so many talented. I'm from Colombia. We talked before about this, and I know many talented developers, and not being able to have that fluency in English when it comes to technical concepts makes it harder for you to get a job. So it's incredible, and you can do this, and you can do it for free in freeCodeCamp today. Amazing. Everybody's talking about AI. If you were here for the keynote, there was a lot of conversations about AI. How do you think that's going to change the way that you're approaching education, building curriculums, or where the industry? I feel like you're laying the foundation for like this is what the industry should be learning now. How is that impacting your view on what the curriculum looks like for freeCodeCamp in the future?
That's an excellent question. So we use AI all the time behind the scenes. We had like a hackathon where we built things with AI assistance. So we published a free book. If you Google AI assisted coding, we just published a book on that. You can read, and it talks about all the latest and greatest tools, including many of GitHub's tools. And what I think is people still should learn the fundamentals. They shouldn't just rely on AI to generate it any more than like if you took a math class, your teacher wouldn't start by like, all right, at class here, let's pull out this TI-83 calculator and let's learn how to graph stuff. No, you like start with a pencil and paper. And with coding, you still do want to learn data structures. You still want to learn algorithms. You want to learn scripting. You want to learn how databases work. You want to learn how web servers work and things like that. So freeCodeCamp still focuses on the foundational learning, but we do teach the AI tools as a kind of like additional component once you've learned those. I personally don't think it's a great idea to just rely on an LLM to teach you and say, hey, LLM, teach me how to build a website. Like, it's probably not going to be super helpful. But if you look at a curriculum that's assembled by lots of teachers and software engineers, I mean, thousands and thousands of developer hours have gone into refining our curriculum. As I said, like 60,000, issues and pull requests over the past 11 years. It's extremely refined, and it's kind of an optimal shortest path to understanding these concepts. So I do think AI is incredibly powerful, and we are teaching it, but we're not going to just slouch on teaching the fundamentals. And I would encourage people who are new to programming to not skip.
Don't skip the line.
Yeah.
No, that is, and thank you so much. That's such an important message because I think there is a lot of tools for us available right now. So, but I love this mode of like doing clarity coding, not vibe coding, but clarity coding with a strong lean on fundamentals, because you're going to do so much better than the developer that just skipped straight to using the LLM to do the chart, whatever, the chart, the short, the what have you for you. So that's amazing. And I love it that you're providing curriculum that is aligned to the industry where we are now, because it's a reality. You are working for companies now that have sort of this call to action that their developers need to embrace the technology, but you still need the fundamentals, and you need to be able to kind of lean on that. That's incredible. I love that you said that you use it internally a lot too. So you're cooking and you're putting out projects with the same thing that you're building it. Talk about a bit about the experience of building this curriculum at a scale, because it's massive. You have equipped people with the tools to build careers, and it's all sort of also being guided by the community. How do you select who your instructors are? A lot of the content that you put out is also like this hours upon hours on YouTube is free. Check it out. Subscribe to the freeCodeCamp YouTube channel. And you have all these very beautifully put together curriculum where, it rivals what you will be seeing in, like, say, a university classroom. How do you select who's going to come to teach? And how are you sort of guiding what you bring next?
Yeah, almost everything's driven by the open source community. Like all
Great.
the hiring, I've never asked for a resume. I've never called a job reference. I just look at who prolific contributors are on the open source code base, and the curriculum's open source. Everything, you can go in and you could tweak the way we worded an expression. You could say, oh, that, like somebody just pointed out the other day in an issue, like, oh, this this property of CSS is not yet implemented in JavaScript or in most browsers. You shouldn't bother teaching this yet until it's actually in the browser. So we can say, oh yeah, we should pull that lesson and not waste people's time learning something that isn't yet live in
Right.
browsers, for example. So there's this iterative process, and the entire community kind of comes in. I like to think of it as like the open source is like a big rock tumbler, and you pick up all these rough stones off the ground, and then you throw them into the rock tumbler that is open source, and it tumbles for a while, and people make little improvements here and there, and then you pull out these very polished stones at the end of the day. Everything's smooth off, and that's what I think the open source community does. So the way that we select contributors is people who select themselves, who step forward and say, hey, I'm going to contribute to this open source project. And I'm going to do it. And then what I do is I meet with them and I'm like, hey, we should have you do this more. Like, can you do this full time? And that's how we've gradually amassed the instructional team. Most of them are software engineers who also have classroom teaching experience. A lot of them have like ESL, like English as a second language teaching experience, or they've taught at university before, or even taught, like Bo Carnes, who runs the YouTube channel, was a special education teacher at a high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so obviously these folks know what they're doing. They do this, whether it be professional careers but they're coming back and contributing. So if I'm watching this right now and I'm thinking, hey, I could probably come and teach something, like how can folks do that?
Yeah, go to contribute.freecodecamp.org and learn. And that includes, like, if you want to write articles, if you want to create video courses, whatever way you want to get involved, whether that's with the code base, whether that's with curriculum, whether that's with localization, anything. We've got so many opportunities for contributors. And Linux Foundation recently listed us as like an important open source project. But one of the things they noted is the number of contributors is way too low considering the scale and importance of this project. Like they should have way more contributors than they do. And I 100% agree. Please consider contributing to freeCodeCamp.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And so if I'm watching this and I want to contribute with curriculum, I know what to do. If I want to contribute to code, go to GitHub, start the project.
Yes.
Look through the issues. I can also contribute if I'm making money now. I can contribute by being a sponsor, right?
Yeah.
So that you can help the foundation continue to go and keep it free for everyone. This is all amazing. As you think about the roadmap and what's coming up next for the next 10 years of freeCodeCamp, what do you see?
Yeah, well, we're going to just continue to refine, like what I kind of think of as like an interactive textbook. And essentially, freeCodeCamp, we want to really teach people every aspect of full stack development, DevOps, like all these different skills so that people can emerge from this single linear curriculum with a pretty broad, well-rounded kind of Renaissance person perspective on how software works and how people get things done using computers. So anything that emerges, like any technologies that become sufficiently mature that they warrant inclusion, we're going to create modules for them. And then at the same time, we want to continue to publish lots of free books, lots of free video courses. We just published like a 49-hour algorithms and data structures course in Java.
So
a few
important.
Days ago.
Go watch that.
Yeah, if you're doing job interviews, consider watching that, right?
Yeah.
And it's really like our lane is just creating open source learning resources, and we're going to stay true to that. Like I don't really have any big ambitions beyond that. Just making sure that everybody has a clear, high quality, free on-ramp into building software.
That's amazing. I love asking time machine questions because obviously you probably wish that you had freeCodeCamp when you started learning,
yes.
Right? But for folks who are watching now, I think there's a lot of uncertainty in the industry because we're moving at a speed that's hard to keep up humans, right? Like there is a ton to consume. Now we have agents and that's great. But let's do that for multiple stages. So if I'm already a developer, maybe a mid-senior career, right, level, what advice can you give me in terms of my education, my growth? Like, what should I focus on now? Do I need to still lean on fundamentals? Are the agents going to do everything for me? Like, where did you see that side going?
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe that agents are going to replace developers. I think developers may come to look more like technical product managers in the sense that they're coming up with specs, but developers have always been involved in those meetings. But now developers are going to be able to more directly kind of like make decisions and build out like a prototype, essentially, if they want to use agents to build a quick prototype. I think for a lot of the more mission critical code where security is really important and stuff like that, a lot of that stuff is going to continue to be hand coded for a long time. And I'm very excited to see how fast the tools progress. They're progressing much faster than I expected. Like a lot of the announcements we just saw today, it's incredible how fast things are moving.
Yes.
But my humble advice to everybody out there who's already working as a dev is get your information diet in order. I would recommend signing up for like developer focused newsletters, listening to developer focused podcasts like this one. I have a podcast that comes out every Friday where I just talk to developers. There's no business people or anything like that. Like I just talk to devs and try to understand what they're doing, what they think is important, how they're going, where they came from, where they're going, all of that stuff. That's just the freeCodeCamp podcast. And then I would recommend people continue to just be part of the community. If you see a discussion going on like a forum, on Reddit, on Hacker News, any place like that, like it, Twitter, it really does pay to like be looped in and discussing these things and not just like passively consuming.
Just being a consumer of the information. That is excellent advice, and I hope everyone takes note of that. Okay, what if I'm just watching this and I have no idea what we're talking about, and where do I start?
I mean, my humble advice would be just go to freeCodeCamp and work from the top to the bottom. And you're going to hear lots of people, oh, it's like that's, it's too slow. It takes too long. The jobs are going to be gone by the time you finish that 2-year-long curriculum, essentially. People will say that sort of stuff, but we're just covering durable fundamental skills that are never going to go out of fashion.
100%.
Yeah, Python, JavaScript, Linux, Git, lots of like SQL, stuff like that. HTML, CSS, like these are not going to go away. Yes, the extent to which AI will write bash scripts for you is probably going to continue to, it's going to write a larger and larger proportion. Things that like are behind the scenes that are not like mission critical, that you don't really have to think too much about, things that have been written a million times, it's still worth it to learn how those things work, in my humble opinion. Like, physicists, even though they've got these powerful computers sitting on their desk, they still learn basic physics and things like that. Even aspects of physics that like the history of physics, right? Like, so they can understand how we got to where we are today. And I think it's going to be the same indefinitely for developers. They're going to concern themselves with the state of the art and also the progression, and so that they can have the full spectrum and understand the field that they're in. I don't think there's going to be a lot of room for developers who aren't intellectually curious, who just don't care about how the tools work. I think if you're a dev, you're going to want to understand lower and lower layers of abstraction, and you'll get there.
Absolutely. That is a key differentiator, I think, when you're finding folks, and now the market is so flooded, like it's stuff out there, friends. I know it. And that is a key differentiator when you're talking to I'm going to go interview, but I actually understand, like I know I can talk to you about data structures and algorithms, and I have somebody else that might have learned with the shortcut, right? I think organizations are going to maybe look at the person with the fundamentals a bit more closely, because they're going to be more adaptable. And a lot of these things, what you just said, they're not going to go out. Like you're still going to need to have those fundamentals. And so if you think about the developer of the future, right, obviously it's changing every day. I feel like there's a new thing that we can lean on. There's recently been a ton of push for spec-driven development, where we're thinking about creating documentation that's going to be actually the sort of source of truth for what we're building. So kind of starting a bit from the problem on, instead of starting with the code first. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we've always started with the problem first, in the sense that you don't just open up an editor, I'm going to build a company, and just start writing code, right? Like,
yeah, true.
But the extent to which you're going to want to lay out exactly what needs to happen and get more and more granular, like, oh, okay, here's a problem we're going to solve. Okay, let's break that problem down into smaller bits. Now let's break those bits down into smaller bits. Like, developers were already doing this. This was usually done through a series of meetings and creating a spec and talking with customers, for example, talking with various stakeholders in the ecosystem and looking at what competitors are doing, looking what has historically been done, looking what kind of off-the-shelf tools are available to do various things, so you don't have to invent everything yourself.
Yes.
So I don't think that fundamental aspect has changed. I think really what we're doing is we're changing, okay, this is a spec that is going to be passed over the proverbial cubicle wall to a developer to implement, to this is a spec that's going to be passed to an LLM to potentially like further iterate on or try to come up with some rough PRs for, and maybe even some code that makes it into production along the way. But you still need to understand what you need to do. And I think code itself represents kind of like the clearest, most explicit spec, because code itself, like if you're looking at a high level scripting language, Well, that's like, we're not working with memory management. We're not working with all that stuff, right? We're writing like JavaScript or Python on top of all that. And I think that we're just going to basically think more granularly, and it'll pay to kind of lay things out. Like, the future has always belonged to those who plan and who think things through before they jump. And I think that will continue to be the case. Like, being able to think critically and understand how these systems work and how everything fits together, that's going to continue to be like a key skill that you can build up by building up your fundamentals, but also understanding the more and more powerful tools coming out every day.
Absolutely. And beyond the tools, what can you say? And folks, I mean, I know we're talking about education. We're talking to freeCodeCamp, absolute code. But because I think we miss out on opportunities of aligning what we're learning and understanding deeper business value and being able to talk. I feel like this is one thing. And if you've listened to me before talk, like you're like, I'm sick of you saying this, Andrea. But I think there is a great deal of value that you can bring to yourself, to your organizations, if you're a person that actually looks at the way the business works and what inheriting is value to your boss's boss, right? Any advice for people that are maybe sort of honed into the love the code, but I don't want to look outside at anything else? Because I think it is sort of a fundamental skill that we can all use some up leveling on to make ourselves shine in a different light. And that's how you kind of get promoted. And then you move into different things, or maybe you go start your own company. I speak to so many brilliant developers that are just sort of silo into, I want to stick to the digits. And I love this. I love this for you. But I think we live in a reality now that we have to kind of find the best way to differentiate ourselves so that we can get the better job or keep our jobs. Any advice for folks that might need some push on that?
Yeah, don't be shy about learning, statistics, finance, economics, understanding like why things are happening in businesses, why, and you can learn a lot that just from listening to a lot of podcasts. I think that's a great way to just like when you're going for a walk or doing something like that, when you're doing the dishes, when you're picking up your kids from school, listen to podcasts, and it's just you're gonna kind of get steeped in all this, but stay curious above all else. I don't think that you can just afford to just be heads down at your keyboard all day long. I really do think you need to pop up and look around and learn what other people in the organization are doing.
100%. Okay, thank you so much, Quincy. This has been amazing. I had a question, and thank you so much to everyone that's tuning in and watching. You're awesome. We are also going to publish this later, so if you're just coming in and you're like, I missed the beginning, it's okay. Don't worry. How can organizations partner with freeCodeCamp? And that is a quick question that we want to get to before we close out.
Quincy at freecodecamp.org. I do all our partnerships myself.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Quincy. I appreciate you taking the time. I hope you enjoy the rest of GitHub Universe. You're the best.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you. All right, friends, for those of you who are watching, don't forget to tune in to all the announcements. Don't forget to go back and watch the keynote, which it was just on live. There'll be more to follow from GitHub Universe. Thank you for being here.